Ch3. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Radha Shri Shakam He Krishna Karuna Sandhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Very grateful and honored to be with all of you all once again. I hope and pray that all of you had a wonderful Janmashtami the last week. I have been having many Janmashtamis across the last few days. Literally every evening I'm celebrating Janmashtami in a different city and literally thousands of people every day. So it is a beautiful experience of sharing Krishna Katha with so many people. I think over the last 1 week or 10 days, probably I would have at least spoken to something like about between 20 to 30,000 people, and so it's been a great experience looking at people really eagerly wanting to understand about Krishna and appreciate and celebrate Janmashtami with us. So we'll continue with our Gita classes. We were in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled as Karma Yoga. And till the last time, we were discussing about the concept of the yoga ladder. So the last 2 sessions we have been discussing, we began by talking about Tyaga, the concept of renunciation. And the last time we were speaking about the yoga ladder. And in the yoga ladder, we spoke about how there are different levels of the yoga ladder. And the topmost level is the level of devotion or bhakti. And today, we're going to be talking about those people who practice devotion. And we call this as self-realized souls. So Krishna, in the 17th verse of the 3rd chapter, we're getting into the next discussion, the next theme of this chapter. But just before getting into the next theme of the chapter, Krishna gives some very interesting concept, which is known as the Atmarati verses. So let me, recite and discuss the verses with all of you, and then we could get into some discussions on what we understand by these verses. So verse number 17 of the 3rd chapter, Krishna says, Yastu Atmarati evasyat atmatriptascha manava atmani eva cha santushta tasya karya navidyate. So he says, but for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. So if you remember, the yoga ladder talks a lot about what one should do and what are the kind of duties that one has in different stages of your elevation. But at the highest level of the yoga ladder, this verse where Krishna is talking about that for a person who is self-realized, there are no duties. So in this verse, a person who is defined as tasya karyam na vidyate. That means this person has no work in this world. Such a person, if he does nothing, then no problem. And if one is not at this level, one should better do something in life. If you remember, last time we had spoken about people who are apparently not doing anything, but they're actually doing a lot, right? You know, we spoke about the concept of action and inaction and inaction and action, right? So that's the discussion that is going a little deeper in this particular section. How can someone who's doing nothing seem to actually doing a lot? So here, Krishna is saying, if such a person does nothing, there is no problem. And if one is not fitting in this particular verse, that person should do something in life. So if one fits in this verse, then one can quit their jobs, quit their families, quit their efforts, quit eating, quit sleeping, and there is no problem. They will still continue to live. And that is only if you fit in this verse. So for such a person, there is no work that he or she has to do. Now the question is, who is such a person? What are the symptoms of such a person? Therefore, Krishna speaks about some symptoms of an Atmarati. Some symptoms of a person who does not need to work. So if any of you have these symptoms, please, you can consider quitting your jobs, quitting your responsibilities and, taking sannyas. But if you don't have these qualities, then better work. So now for this, especially for all those people who think Bhagavad Gita is recommending us to quit jobs. Bhagavad Gita is recommending us to quit your responsibilities, Therefore, first understand what it requires to be an Atmarati who can afford to do this. So Krishna is saying, Yastva Atmarati evasya. Atmarati means one who finds pleasure in himself internally. So he is Atma Triptascha Manava. Tripta, Atma Tripta means he is satisfied within himself. For such a person, it does not matter whether he works or he does not work. If he only depends on whatever comes his way, he will survive. One day he might get a pizza, one day he might get roti, one day he might get nothing. For an Atmarati, it doesn't matter. So there is no work for such a person who is satisfied within himself, internally satisfied. Now, one should not get disheartened if one is not an Atmarati. But one should at least try to reach the stage of Atmatripta. Atmatripta means try to be a little satisfied in life. To find inner satisfaction is not easy. Anyone can satisfy one's tongue by eating tempting food. Anyone can satisfy the ears by hearing some praise. Somebody says there is no one better than you, you are the best, That's it. People feel so nice, The tongue always wants sweets and the ear always wants stuti or praise. Stuti or praise, if you actually from a Vedic culture, everything is a personality. So stuti also is a person. And interestingly, Stuti is a Kanya. It's a feminine. And Stuti Kanya is she's a bachelor, never married. Why is praise feminine? Why is Stuti Kanya? Why is Stuti considered to be a Kanya? The reason is because whoever wants to marry her, she does not like them. So all those who want praise does not like them, And the person whom she likes and wants to go to, they don't want her. It's a very interesting equation, right? So the one she likes, that person doesn't want her. And the one who wants her, she runs away from them, So that's why Suti Kanya, remains eternally a bachelor. She never gets married, basically, So the the idea of Atmarati is connected with the idea of understanding, self-satisfaction. That means I don't need anything from outside to satisfy me. I'm satisfied from within. So satisfactions to one's tongue, satisfaction to one's ears, satisfaction to one's eyes is very essential for human beings. And those who seek satisfaction from outside, they don't get satisfaction inside. There are only two places where sense gratification is available in unlimited quantity. One is the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan, and second is in imagination. Other than these two places, you don't get sense gratification in a unlimited quantity. Everywhere else, it is limited quantity only. So the first symptom of an Atmarati is how he deals with obstacles in life. An Atmarati is someone who no obstacle can budge him even an inch from his duties. Somebody who is self-satisfied, how much ever obstacles come on his way, how much ever troubles come in his life, Atmarati does not give up. He remains firm and he remains satisfied. So according to the Gita, a person who is an Atmarati will not budge a single inch, no matter what obstacles come, no matter what kind of troubles come. He will never give up his duties, whatever duties it is. It may be duties to his family, his business, his society, to the society, to humanity, and finally to God. He will never ever give up. The problem today is that we are so obsessed by our way of thinking that we become obstinate. And when we become obstinate, we cannot observe the obstacles, how those obstacles are there to serve our purpose in life. So there are 4 O's: obsessed, obstinate, observation, and obstacles. Therefore, it is important to understand that many of us are obsessed by our thinking, our way of thinking. So we are obsessed in our mind with the way how things should work out. And we are not bothered about how Krishna wants it to happen. For example, when devotees are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, now the mind keeps going here and there, it keeps wandering, So the mind, which is obsessed with thoughts, with ideas, with things, with desires, the mind keeps wandering here and there. And unfortunately, the mind is so obstinate that it doesn't want to change its course. So usually what happens is, when someone is obsessed with things, with enjoyment, with desire for sense gratification, that obsession leads to obstinacy. Obstinacy means I want things to happen my way only. And because we become so obstinate, we cannot observe the obstacles that are coming in front of us. We try to solve our problems on our own and create a mess instead of taking the shelter of Krishna. So there was one man who had done some wrong, and the king's men caught him and brought him to the court to punish him. So the king's men told him, "You have done a big crime, you'll be punished. But you can choose one of the 3 types of punishments." They told him, they said, "You choose which punishment you want. We give you choice." So they said, first punishment, you have to pay 500 gold coins for the mistake you made. Second punishment is you have to take 50 lashes. Third punishment, you have to drink 5 kilos of ghee. This man thought, "Arey, what an amazing series of options." He said, "I'll drink 5 kilos ghee." Obviously, he thought, drinking 5 kilos ghee seems to be like a sense gratification, It's such a good thing. Ghee is good for health. He decided to drink 5 kilos ghee and they gave him ghee to drink. It's impossible to drink 5 kilo ghee. Impossible. This fellow, he drank 1 kilo ghee and he just couldn't handle anymore. He just couldn't drink one drop more of ghee. So then he told him, Chalo, I'll take 50 lashes. And they started beating him. After 15 lashes, he couldn't handle it at all. And he gave 500 gold coins. In the end, he got all three, basically. He went for, instead of taking one punishment, he got all three punishments, one after another. So this is our condition in life. Out of the different choices we get, we say that if I choose this, then I get this problem. And when the problem comes, I leave it in between, I go to another choice. And then there also another problem comes. Then we say, oh, I leave this, I'll go to the third one. There also problem. The point is that the mind is just so unsteady to just focus on one thing and just stick to it. Our mind, it keeps running here and there and here and there. The moment the problem comes, we drop it, go to the next one. That is why most people in life don't end up achieving much. Because their mind is just running all over. The moment it faces an obstacle, we drop and run away. The same thing happens in chanting. The moment we start chanting, obstacles start coming. Mind is going here and there. Sleep is coming. Somebody is coming. Different problems keep coming. And they say it doesn't work. I can't do it. They drop it and they walk away. Come on. These problems will come only. Obstacles will come only. It doesn't mean we give up and walk away. It means we strive hard, no matter what obstacle comes. All of us are ideally like copper. To make a thin wire out of copper has to be beaten hard, otherwise the wire won't be formed. There is a plinth, and the copper is taken on it and is beaten with a hammer, beaten very, very hard. The copper does not go through beating. Until the copper does not go through beating, it can't be turned into a fine wire. And if there is no fine wire, there is no question of electricity flowing through it. Obstacles in our life are like hammer. We are like copper. And we are being beaten by these obstacles again and again and again. But if you take shelter of Krishna, we eventually turn into an amazing wire through which there is no resistance. Those who understand the idea of zero resistance wires, especially those who are electrical engineers will understand this. So zero resistance means full current can pass through the wire. No resistance means no current can pass through. So resistance goes down, Krishna's mercy starts flowing. The problem is that there is so much resistance to Krishna's mercy. The copper conductor maintains minimum resistance. And therefore, these obstacles are like good beatings to reduce the resistance and let the grace flow. So all of us, we need Krishna's grace in our life, right? We need the mercy of Krishna to flow into our life. First thing is, let us stop looking at obstacles as problems. Let us look at them as opportunities for Krishna's mercy to flow through us. Kunti Maharani, in her prayers to Lord Krishna, she makes an amazing prayer. She tells Krishna, Vipada Sanduta Shashvat, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru. She says, my dear Krishna, let more and more obstacles come into my life. Because every time an obstacle comes, you come. Have you ever stood in front of the deities, you've gone to any temple and prayed to Krishna, oh Krishna, please give me problems in life? Have you ever prayed like that? Look at Kunti. She's actually praying like that. Please let problems and obstacles come into my life. Because she is an Atmarati. She knows every obstacle and every problem that comes into her life only makes her resistance to Krishna consciousness lesser and her desire to allow Krishna's mercy to flow intense. So we all go through problems in life and we go through such difficult problems, right? Some of the people that we go through problems are very sad, very tough. But when we look at the problems in a very different way, they are no more problems, but they actually are friends. They come to help us develop our connection with Krishna even more intensely. Obstacles are compared to a fire. And Atmarati, he looks at obstacles as something that helps them overcome their difficulties and challenges. Just like a goldsmith that is wanting to make jewelry and he wants a 24 karat gold jewelry. So now the gold needs to be heated up and melted to be able to become so malleable that they become fine jewelry and proper ornaments can be made out of it. So now for gold, is fire an obstacle? No, fire is the one that is actually helping the gold become purer, more perfect, most perfect, right? So similarly, all of us, we should learn to look at obstacles as fire that can heat the gold from which beautiful ornaments can be formed and offered to the lotus feet of our deities, Radha Krishna, and ornamented lives. So then what happens is every obstacle that comes becomes almost a special ornament in the in our process of growth. A lot of people, when they see different situations that come into their life, like for example, there was one lady who got up in the morning and told her husband that she had a dream last night. So the husband said, "What's new about that dream?" You know, the lady said that she got a beautiful necklace in her dream, diamond necklace. You know, and she asked her husband, "What do you think that dream means?" The husband said, "I'll let you know later." You know, so in the evening when the husband comes back home, he got a beautiful gift packed, you know, with like nice, beautiful packing and all. And the wife was so happy that her dream is going to come true, you know. And she was just so enthusiastically, she opened that wrapper and all that. And she found a book which said, "Meaning of Dreams." Very interesting, isn't it? So a lot of people, when they come across desires, you know, when they come across their own shortcomings, they don't understand that every time I go through something in my life and I don't get something in my life, or I get something in my life, everything has a purpose behind it, isn't it? So we're chanting, all kinds of bad thoughts come, all kinds of mind is wandering around. Don't give up. It only means that I need to continue my effort of chanting. If I come across some issues, some problems in my life, it doesn't mean I give up. It means that that problem has come for a specific purpose to purify us, to make us take shelter of Krishna even more. So every time I come through something in my life, it's like that copper wire that is getting beaten up. It's like that gold that is getting purer and purer by the fire. So Atmarati essentially means two things. First, an Atmarati sees that the beating has a purpose and it will help me grow. An Atmarati finds different reasons to take shelter of Krishna. If when you come through an obstacle, when you go through a difficulty, when you go through a pain, we take shelter of Krishna more, it simply means that that pain has served its purpose. That pain has actually brought us closer to Krishna. So for a Atmarati, every obstacle brings him or her closer to Krishna. Just like a sculptor is making a beautiful sculpture. But in order for a sculptor to make a beautiful sculpture out of marble, the sculptor has to chisel, and he uses a chisel to chip off the marble and carve a beautiful statue out of it. So we're all like marbles, and the obstacles that come into our life are like chisels. So now all of us carry a lot of excess baggage. Now, when I say excess baggage, for some people, it might be the few extra kilos that are on your tummy, you know. But I'm not talking about that excess baggage, you know. I'm talking about the excess baggage that we are carrying in our minds, we are carrying in our conscience. There are unwanted things that need to be chiseled off, thrown out of our lives. Only then the the form of bhakti will take shape. Our bhakti is like a sculpture, within the marble, basically, and it is covered by excess baggage of envy, of greed, of pride, of illusion, so many things. These are obstacles, and these obstacles are so powerful. We end up deceiving ourselves by these obstacles. When obstacles come, they actually chisel out a lot of stuff and bring out the best from within. Only if you look at all these obstacles as from the point of view of how these obstacles can bring out the best from within us, when you take shelter of Prabhupada's words, when you take shelter of the words of the devotees, this world is full of obstacles and we all need shelter. And an Atmarati is someone who knows the art of taking shelter of Krishna. Krishna does not come cheap. Last time, if you all remember, we discussed the story of Vasudeva and Devaki giving birth to Krishna in their lives. And if you remember, in that, we were speaking about how Krishna doesn't come to the life of Vasudeva and Devaki till they went through so much difficulties. 6 children, one after another, being killed right in front of their own eyes. They went through so much pain and trauma. They've been imprisoned for so many years. They went through so much in their own lives, isn't it? Krishna doesn't come just by wearing a tilak on your head. Krishna doesn't come just by putting, kantimala on your neck. Krishna doesn't come simply by, wearing some kavach or some putting a dhoti kurta, that's not how Krishna comes into our life. Krishna comes when we are ready to face obstacles with devotion, with a sense of faith, with a sense of complete dedication to Krishna and his reasonings, which many times we don't know, basically. So after going through so much in our life and not being able to do what we want to do, we succumb to obstacles, and then what happens is every time an obstacle comes, we want to give up the path. We want to give up our goals. But Atmarati is someone who at no cause, in no situation of life, in no phase of life, gives up his goal. Every single lock in this world comes with a key. Have you ever seen a lock that doesn't come with a key? You go to lock manufacturers to buy locks, you'll always find the lock and a key together. Why? Because when the lock is made, that time only the key is made. Locks are like problems in our life. But we should remember, if there is a problem, there is a solution also. There is no problem in this world that doesn't have a solution. And therefore, whenever we come across problems in life, without, we might think that right now I can't see a solution to the problem in life. But we are obsessed and we are obstinate. And therefore, we cannot observe what these obstacles are. If we are not so obstinate and if we are not so obsessed, when we observe these obstacles, we start looking at these obstacles as not obstacles, but they're actually solutions. They're actually keys for our advancement. They're actually keys to help us take shelter of Krishna. So the key of taking shelter of the holy name of Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, the words of Srila Prabhupada and great devotees, taking shelter of the devotees and their guidance. If we take that key, then the lock opens and you'll be able to make right decisions in your life. So people are able to make good decisions based on 3 things. If you want to make good decisions in your life, and if you think that why am I not making good decisions in my life, look at observe these 3 things that are very much factors that influence your decision-making process. The first key to make right decisions in life is Sukruti. Sukruti means previous lives' piety. People who have a lot of good karma in their previous lives can make right decisions in this life. The second reason how we end up making good decisions in life is viveka. Viveka means discrimination, which comes by reading, studying scriptures, studying books, hearing lectures, sharpening one's intelligence by philosophy and by guidance. That's what viveka means. So discrimination comes by this. And the third reason or third way which helps us make right decisions in life is known as kripa. Kripa means mercy of Krishna, Guru, and Vaishnavas. Now, one may not have Sukruti, what we did in previous life, how do you know? What piety we have, how do you know? That's not in our hand so much. So Sukruti is not in our hand. Viveka can be cultivated by reading and studying and by hearing lectures. Why do we have all these courses? Why do we have classes on a weekly basis? It is just simply to help you cultivate Viveka in your life, discrimination. And third thing is Kripa. So one should try to get Kripa of the Vaishnavas, try to get Kripa of Guru and devotees by always trying to please them. Try to get Kripa of Krishna by trying to please him in some way. How do you please Krishna? How do you please the devotees? Very simple. Pleasing Krishna is simply following the instructions given by the devotees. If the devotees tell us, chant the holy names of the Lord. When we chant sincerely, we're pleasing Krishna. When we're trying to offer a little bit of whatever we have in our lives to Krishna, we're pleasing Krishna. Offer a little bhoga to Krishna, food to Krishna, and eat that as prasad. That's pleasing Krishna. Being nice to other devotees, just being kind to your family members, that's pleasing Krishna. So when we are sincere in our efforts to grow in our devotion, we please the devotees and Krishna. And when we please the Lord and the devotees, we get Kripa. We come to the notice of Krishna and the devotees. How do you come to the, I mean, there's always a crowd everywhere, right? Especially in places like Mumbai, it's so crowded. How do you stand out of that crowd? So in a whole world that is so crowded, to stand out, you need to do something that pleases Krishna and his devotees. And simply by doing something that pleases Krishna and his devotees, you attract the mercy of the Lord and the devotees. And that mercy is the key to right decision making. So this was the first symptom of an Atmarati, which is he doesn't budge in front of obstacles. The second symptom of an Atmarati is his approach towards loss and gain. So Atmarati is a very interesting personality. An Atmarati is someone, in spite of loss and gain, remains unaffected. People change. Every single person goes through so much in their lives. When people get a lot of money, they change. When people lose all the money, they change. A lot of people get proud and go astray, and they are affected by loss and gain, basically. We change in gain and we change in loss. A successful and a very, very rich person, he was asked by a reporter. He said, "Sir, you're a millionaire. What is the secret of your success?" And this man said, "Very simple. Behind every successful man, there is a woman. The reason for me being a millionaire is my wife." And the reporter was amazed. He said, "Wow, this guy's giving all the credit to his wife." He said, "Before you were a millionaire, what were you?" He said, "I was a billionaire." So people change when they lose, and they also change when they gain, isn't it? That's how life is. What is gain and what is loss in this life? So the idea of loss and gain is a very powerful idea. But Atmarati is someone who, in spite of loss and gain, knows to remain unaffected. One time, there was a farmer. And this farmer was a very simple man. And, he had a very interesting way of approaching and looking at life. whatever happened to him, he always felt he just remained neutral, basically. One day, the farmer was very surprised when a horse came in, beautiful horse, absolutely came in on its own to his farm. So all the neighbors were amazed. They said, wow, you're so lucky. This is good luck. The horse has come on its own. This man said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And then, the farmer's son went on a ride the next day and he broke his leg. And the neighbor said, oh, horse is a bad luck. The farmer said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And then the next day, the army sent a draft board to recruit all the young men in the village. They took all the young men except this fellow's son whose leg was broken. And all the neighbors said, oh, you're so lucky. Your son got saved. His horse is good luck. This farmer said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And then suddenly the next day, horse disappeared. And the neighbors said, hey, such a bad luck, the horse went. And this man again said the same thing. And the next day, the horse came back with one more horse. And the neighbor said, hey, good luck. This fellow again said, good luck, bad luck, God knows. The point is that someone who's an Atmarati understands that this luck and no luck is actually it's just a matter of change. Someday you'll get lucky and someday you'll get unlucky. Someday you'll gain a lot, someday you'll lose a lot. Somebody who's an Atmarati is steady in gain and loss. Someone who's an Atmarati is unaffected in gain and loss. Somebody who's an Atmarati is very, very grateful in gain and loss. He is grateful when he gains, he is grateful when he loses. He is happy when he gains and he is happy when he loses. He is contented when he gains and is contented when he loses. Because he knows there is a lot more to that happens behind these externals of gain and loss, which we may not understand. The third symptom of an Atmarati is that an Atmarati is unaffected by surroundings. So the last quality was that Atmarati is unaffected gain and loss. But Atmarati is also unaffected by the surroundings in which he is. An Atmarati, so normally, normal human beings who are not Atmaratis, they get affected by their surroundings, isn't it? When one is surrounded by non-devotees and they're having, a party, drinking alcohol and doing all kinds of crazy things, the mind obviously tends to wander, tends to get bewildered, basically. But someone who's a Krishna conscious devotee, who's an Atmarati, he doesn't get affected by the surroundings. He doesn't get tempted by these temptations. And a temptation is the foundation of life, isn't it? To be tempted by the surroundings is the foundation of one's life. And therefore, what one does outside in front of the world is personality. But what one does alone is character. So you can show to the whole world that you are great, but temptations taunt you when you are on your own. So here, the whole idea of surrounding essentially means that not getting affected by surrounding essentially means an Atmarati is someone who is so stable and so self-controlled, the surroundings don't affect him at all. For example, Shukadeva Goswami was the son of Vyasdev. Just to give you a little story of Shukadeva Goswami's life, Shukadev was in the womb of Vyasdev's wife, and when he was in the womb of his mother, he refused to come out of the womb. I don't know how many of you all have come across children who have refused to come out of the wombs. They're ejected out, right? Usually that's how pressure works, labor pain or whatever you call it. Nobody calls it labor pleasure. It's always pain, right? So anyone in this world is pushed out. But Shukadeva Goswami was so great. He heard Vyasdev speak Srimad Bhagavatam while he was in the womb of his mother. And he got convinced that this material world is a bad place. He said, I don't want to come out of the material world. I want to remain here only. And Shukadeva Goswami remained in his mother's womb for 16 years. And finally, when he was 16, now please don't ask me how did that womb manage a 16-year-old boy and all. I don't have the answers to that. But he remained in the womb of his mother for 16 years. And when he got out of the womb of his mother, a 16-year-old boy straight walked out of the house. He took sannyas the moment he came out of his mother's womb, basically. And the father, Vyasdev, was shocked when he saw, the boy is born after 16 years and straight away goes to the forest, and the two, Vyasdev, when he saw his son not coming out of the womb of his mother, he went to Krishna for help, saying, Krishna, please come and help me. My son is just not getting out of the womb of his mother. So Krishna came and spoke to the baby in the womb of the mother. And when Krishna spoke to the baby expressed his fear of Maya, Krishna's Maya Shakti. Krishna assured the child, don't worry. I promise you that my Maya Shakti will not be able to even touch you. Temptations will not even bother you. Only when that promise Krishna himself gave, Sukadeva Goswami got out of the womb of his mother. And straight away he walked into the forest. And Vyasdev was running behind his son, just born son, walking out to the forest. So Vyasdev came running behind to get his son back home. Shukadeva Goswami is just walking on and on and on. And Shukadeva Goswami happened to pass by a lake. And in the lake, there were many beautiful young girls that were having a bath, and they were hardly clothed. So Shukadeva Goswami just walked across, and these women didn't even bother to stop and cover themselves and all. They understood that this person is in a highly elevated consciousness. And Shukadeva Goswami, by the way, he didn't even have time to wear clothes. He was walking just naked straight out of the house. And after some time, Vyasdev came running to behind his son. And as soon as this elderly person, Vyasa, ran behind, all the women got up and they were wearing their clothes. So Vyasa was amazed. He said, hey, I am of the age of your grandfather, and you are covering yourself as soon as I come. But my son is 16-year-old and you are not even bothering to cover yourself. And the women answered, they said, your son is not someone of this world. He is an Atmarati. He is in a different realm. For him, these bodies don't even matter. He doesn't even look at us as man and woman. He is looking at an Atma level. And because he's looking at that level, for him, nothing affects. Therefore, if one cannot be an Atmarati, one should at least be intelligent enough to choose your proper surroundings, like Shukadeva Goswami. Of course, you cannot be Shukadeva Goswami because we will all get affected by surrounding. We don't have, Krishna's promise that Maya will not affect us. I don't know if any of you all have any special communication with Krishna, giving an assurance that Maya will not affect you. But if you have not had that telecommunication, then please be careful of what your surroundings are. So an Atmarati is someone who doesn't get affected by surroundings. We get affected. Therefore, we need to be careful what our surroundings are. Be careful the surroundings that you choose, because those surroundings will affect you. The surroundings can bring the gross beast out of you. And in certain surroundings, it might bring the best out of you, the devotional element out of you. Depending on what kind of surrounding you choose, that is how you will be affected. If you get an opportunity to be in the association of devotees, please choose that surrounding. And if not, at least stay away from the wrong association and the wrong kind of surroundings, which will affect your spiritual consciousness. An Atmarati is unaffected by one's surroundings. The fourth quality of an Atmarati is that an Atmarati is always looking for Ish Sangha, association with Lord Krishna. Atmarati means a person who will always connect himself to Krishna and associate with Krishna. Without being in association with Krishna, one cannot be an Atmarati. Simply dealing with obstacles, simply trying to go beyond loss and gain, simply trying to be away from material surroundings, it is not possible till you get this last quality. In the material world also, when obstacles come, people try to fight it out with a little determination, but it doesn't always happen. They try to go beyond gain and loss in this world, but they are affected by gain and loss in this world. How much ever one tries to get above one's surroundings, one gets affected by one's surrounding. We are all affected. But therefore, an Atmarati needs connection to Krishna. In fact, by Isha Sangha, you get to do all the first three. If you have the fourth one, then you can easily do the first three. If you have Isha Sangha, then you can deal with obstacles well. If you have Isha Sangha, then you will not be affected by gain and loss. If you have Isha Sangha, then you will not be affected by your surroundings. But if you don't have Isha Sangha, don't expect that you will be able to handle obstacles easily well. Don't expect that you will be unaffected by gain and loss. Don't expect that you will be unaffected by your surroundings. Srila Prabhupada would give an example of an iron rod. If you take an iron rod and hold the iron rod like this, what happens? How does it feel when you hold the iron rod? It's cold, right? Metal is cold always. But put that iron rod in fire and let it stay in that fire for 1 hour. And then you hold the iron rod. What will it be? Do you think you'll feel cool? No. The iron rod will be as hot as fire. The iron rod is no more an iron rod, it has become fire actually. So similarly, all of us, we become who we are in contact with, basically. So when one comes in contact with God, then one becomes godly. So if one is in contact with Maya, one becomes Mayali, basically, whatever you call that. So whatever you're in contact with intensely, that's what you become. There is a very beautiful verse, the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Ajamil, which is a very powerful verse that describes this concept of Isha Sangha. So its verse says, Isha Prakriti Sangena Purushasya Viparyayo Aset Sa Eva Na Chirad Isha Sangad Viliyate. So it says, Isha Prakriti Sangena. Isha Prakriti Sangena means we have associated lots with Prakriti. 3 modes of material nature, basically. So we have associated a lot with material nature, life after life. So many lifetimes we have been in Prakriti Sangha. Esha Prakriti Sangena. How many malls we have roamed around in? How many theme parks we have gone to? How many food courts we have eaten in? How many discos and pubs we have entered? How many times we have eaten ice creams, and how much we have, how many new clothes we have tried on, how many cars we have bought over lifetimes. If you look at it, we have a lot of it, right? That's called Prakriti Sangena. Purushasya Viparyaya. What happens with Prakriti Sangha? We are put in a very awkward situation. When we get into Prakriti Sangha, we want to chant Krishna's names, but when we chant Krishna's name, we think of problems. Look at us. Look at our awkward situation. We want to dance in Kirtan, but when we dance in Kirtan, we get, knee pain, back pain. So many things happen, We want to relish Krishna Prasad, but we get diabetes. We want to enthusiastically do some seva, but no time only to do seva, So we are in such an awkward situation because we are constantly in Prakriti Sangha. Now, how to change the situation? Within a moment, it can change. Shukadeva Goswami explains, Esha Prakriti Sangena. One has associated with Prakriti. Now, associate with Isha. So the word Isha comes from the word Ishvara, Krishna. Prakriti Sangha has happened. Now from Prakriti Sangha, we need to get to Isha Sangha, associating with Krishna, connecting ourselves with Krishna. Within a moment, life can change by that Krishna consciousness. As soon as Krishna factor comes into our life can change. There are 5 ways to connect to Krishna in your life. This is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. 5 ways one should do it now, today, and every day in our lives. If possible, we should try to do these 5 things every single day of our life to establish what is known as Isha Sangha. What are these 5 things that one must do every single day in one's life to establish Isha Sangha? How do we really develop Isha Sangha in a way that we can really grow wonderfully in our consciousness and wonderfully in our mood, wonderfully in our thought process, and wonderfully in the way we look at life? I would want to take this entire concept of Isha Sangha for an entire session next time. So next Tuesday, let's just dive deep into this 5 ways in which we can associate with Krishna. We can develop Isha Sangha in our life. I don't have to take a class on how to develop Prakriti Sangha. All of you are experts in it, isn't it? I mean, not just experts, we have done PhD in how to develop Prakriti Sangha. Yeah? And every day we find unique and new ways of doing Prakriti Sangha. So I don't have to tell you how to do that. So my role is going to tell you how to do Isha Sangha, because that is foreign to us, unfortunately. That is not something that is natural to us now, though it is ideally supposed to be the most natural way of life. But because we have done too much Prakriti Sangha, we are very bereft of Isha Sangha. In fact, we are bereft of ideas how to do Isha Sangha. So the next time when we meet on next Tuesday, I'm going to give you all 5 solid ways you can do Isha Sangha on a daily basis in your life. And if possible, if you can just plan your schedules in such a way that you can do these 5 things every single day. And I can tell you, it won't take you more than half an hour if you really put your intelligence and put your effort in the right direction. Of course, Isha Sangha can be done 24 hours a day also. So if somebody is not ready or not in a state of doing it 24 hours a day, at least do it for half an hour a day. At least do it for 1-2 hours a day. Whatever amount of time you can do in a day, you should do it. Let me tell you something very interesting. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was a guru of Srila Prabhupada, he was a very powerful acharya in the 18th, 19th century, And when the Britishers were here, he was so influential and was so powerful that he would talk to Britishers. So he was known as a walking encyclopedia. He could speak on any topic for any length of time. Just to give you some Bhakti Siddhanta, when he was in his teenage, when he was 19 years old, he wrote a treatise on astronomy, Vedic astronomy, called Surya Siddhanta. Till today, Surya Siddhanta is considered to be an authority in astronomy. NASA has copies of Surya Siddhanta even today. So you can imagine, and Bhakti Siddhanta was 19 years of age at that point when he wrote Surya Siddhanta. So you can imagine how intelligent and how smart he was. When Bhakti Siddhanta would speak in English, Britishers would have to refer dictionary. Can you imagine Britishers would have to refer to a dictionary to understand what Bhakti Siddhanta is trying to speak in English? That is a quality of, that is the intelligence that Bhakti Siddhanta had, and that is the kind of person that Bhakti Siddhanta was. Why am I telling you a little background of Bhakti Siddhanta? Just to give you some information, just to give you some idea of who he was. Because someday in future, we'll have an entire session on Bhakti Siddhanta himself. But Bhakti Siddhanta had a very interesting way of looking at life and looking at priorities in life. He would tell his disciples that you divide your day into So, Swatiji, please be careful with your mic. Bhakti Siddhanta would tell his disciples to divide their day into 3 parts. 24 hours you have, divide 24 into 3. What it is? 8 hours. So he said, 8 hours you go and work, earn money. 8 hours, take care of your bodily needs, eating, sleeping, bathing, whatever you need to do it in 8 hours. And 8 hours, Bhakti Siddhanta would say, you should practice your spiritual life. That's the calculation that Bhakti Siddhanta would give his disciples, which means that Bhakti Siddhanta's disciples would chant 64 rounds every day. 64 rounds takes 8 hours, by the way. Now, for some of y'all over here who think that it's too much, you're right, it's too much for us. But that's the standard Bhaktisiddhanta set. So Srila Prabhupada, when he went to the Western world, he realized that this 8 hours is going to be too much for anybody. So the first set of disciples who wanted to take initiation from Prabhupada told them, you have to chant 64 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They fainted. Literally, they fainted. They said, impossible. We can't do it. So Prabhupada said, okay, fine. You can't do it 8 hours. You do 32 rounds. Okay? Discount 50%. They said, impossible. We can never do 32 rounds in our life. Then Prabhupada said, okay, fine. For y'all, minimum 16 rounds. And he said, nothing below this. That's how the number 16 came into picture, basically. And 16 is what? 2 hours of chanting. 2 hours of for your spiritual life. Now, if Bhaktisiddhanta looks at you and me, he will really be upset, thinking that these guys have no ability to manage their time. Because they can't prioritize 8 hours for Krishna, But it's okay. We have Prabhupada supporting us. So he has kind of been a merciful grandfather to us. And he's reduced it to a minimum of 16 rounds. I am going even further saying, Baba, at least half an hour, do something, I understand that many of you all may not even be able to handle 2 hours at this point in your lives. At least half an hour, I don't think it's too much. I don't think, if you just sacrifice a little bit of your Netflix and if you sacrifice a little bit of your Instagram time, you sacrifice a little bit of your WhatsApp time, you will definitely be able to find half an hour, Maybe a little bit, half an hour of your 8 to 9 hours of glorious sleep, if you can sacrifice, probably you'll find half an hour. At least begin something for Isha Sangam. So now what to do in this half an hour and what exactly Isha Sangam that I'm talking about, the 5 things that is highly recommended, we'll discuss next time. And hopefully that will help you all really in your personal journeys of trying to develop the Krishna connection. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here and have some discussions. Just before we get into discussions, just 1 or 2 announcements we have. We have been announcing about the Vrindavan Yatra. Many of you all have registered for the Vrindavan Yatra. Just to let you all know that Vrindavan, we are starting the Yatra on 24th of December. And 23rd December happens to be the date on which we depart from Mumbai, if you are traveling from Mumbai or anywhere else also, if you want to reach Vrindavan for the Yatra. The problem now is that for those who really want to come for this Yatra, you have to book your tickets tomorrow at max. Because the 4 months period, whatever the duration of the period where the tickets open up is starting tomorrow. So for those who have already registered for the Yatra, please do book your tickets, train tickets, that is. I would highly recommend coming by train, especially if you're coming from Mumbai. It is much better than coming by flight because there's a 5-hour journey by the road and it's a complex journey. But if you are coming from other places, it's fine if you come by flight. If you need any help for booking tickets, please let us know. Our team can help you all handle that. And for those who have not registered for the Yatra, and if you want to register, please register now and you book your tickets. I would go on to say, if you're not sure, December is too far away for you, you can't plan so early and all that. My suggestion is still go ahead and book it because cancelling is much easier. In 1 month before the Yatra, we'll give you a full refund also. And train tickets will anyway, hardly cost much if you do a cancellation. But later on, getting tickets is going to be impossible. So if you want to be a part of the Yatra, even if you're slightly unsure, still just go ahead and do it. That would be my suggestion. And the second announcement is that this Saturday, we are starting a new course on 21 timeless principles from the Ramayana for life. If any of you all who have not registered for the course would like to join the course, you are most welcome to join. We will begin this Saturday. And this course is going to be one of the most powerful and intense courses that you've ever attended in your life. For those who have attended the Hanuman Chalisa course, this will take your understanding and appreciation of Ramayana to another level only. This is going to be very different from the Hanuman Chalisa course. This is not going to be a heavily story-driven course. This is going to be very much principle and learning-driven course. So while we will speak stories from the Ramayana, but there will be a lot of focus on life application from these stories. And as I had already mentioned, that every single session will be based on models and frameworks that will help you remember the concepts and apply the concepts in your personal lives. Easy for remembering and easy for applying also. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. You can take some questions and comments, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Excellent
Hare
session.
Krishna. Yes.
Excellent session. I think I can relate to most of the things over here. And as you very rightly said, behind the success of, without any offense meant to anybody, behind the success of every man, there is a woman. And you get from a billionaire to a millionaire or a trillionaire to a zero. I think I've gone through it all. So I can relate to that. And as you very rightly said, you realize it sometimes by making most of the mistakes. And then you get onto the path of spirituality, and probably that's what has driven me closer to spirituality. I can't say right now, but then definitely it is. But it was a very, very enlightening session and eye-opener, like any of your sessions, previous sessions. Thank you. I'm really grateful.
And for the understanding that, the idea of loss is a very important idea for us to deal with it, because unfortunately what happens is most people in life, when they go through a loss in their life, when they go through pain, when they go through difficulties in their life, they shift into a BMW mode, blame, morose, worry mode, which is blaming someone, worrying about it, and becoming morose about it. But that's not going to be, that's not really going to help. So what Gita is recommending us is to actually shift to a much higher plane of thinking, and how these losses can actually shape us up into much more powerful personalities and help us take shelter. Because taking shelter, it requires humility. And humility is not easy unless and until you are in a state to become humble. When we gain a lot, we actually become arrogant. We become so difficult, and so arrogant. And sometimes time factor, kala, just to shake us up, it comes in the form of a loss. And it just shakes up the foundation of everything we believed in and everything we thought that we were.
Wonderful.
And we really wake up.
Amazing. Amazing. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. You really summed it up so well.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
So the topic that you were discussing about the gain and loss, like most people, as you're saying, whatever circumstances in their life, that changes their personality. That changes the way they start looking at the world. They start reacting. But sometimes it just happens that I work with that on myself, that I should not allow situations around me to change me and change my character. I'm not even talking of personality, external personalities, of course, but important is to hold on to your character. Like, bad things happen to you, where people, they break your trust. But then I remind myself that trust is such a cheap commodity that we just give. We just give easily anybody our trust. And then when that's broken, then we come back crying over the spilled milk. Oh, he broke my trust. But he never asked for the trust. No, I gave it out. But it's very hard. This part of the 4 qualities, I feel, the gain and the loss, what is the right way in which, how do we help ourselves keep in that center, that these circumstances of life where you're so badly hurt, that you don't allow them to affect you that way.
This world works on trust in humanity. So in a human being's life, just take any human being, your own life, for example, in your entire 70, 80, 90 years of living, how many human beings do you come across? Potentially at least 10, 20,000 human beings you would have come across in your entire life's duration.
Sure.
And out of those 10, 20,000 human beings that you have come across in your entire life's duration, how many have let down your trust? The numbers will be maybe 2 or 3. So even if you look at it from a probability theory point of view, the probability of someone letting you down is so insignificantly small. But the problem is that we give that one person such a huge amount of mind space that that person seems to be overpowering everyone else that has come into your life and everyone else that has given you experiences to be grateful for. That is the power of the compounding effect of grief. When you allow, grief is like, you take a blotting paper and you put one drop of ink on the blotting paper, what happens? It just spreads across the blotting paper, right? It just completely takes over. So similarly, one drop of grief has the ability to take over your mind space so badly that it doesn't allow your mind space to accommodate, to register, and to be grateful for anything else. This is where we need to step in. Because unfortunately, when we go through difficulties and pain in our life, we tend to think that now everything is over. And we tend to just zoom in so much into that pain and difficulty, and we allow it so much power that literally everything is over for us from a realistic point of view also. But actually, if you see, pain, like everything else in life, is temporary. There's nothing in this life that is permanent, including misery. You're miserable today, and you might be really, really miserable. We don't even want to say that you're not miserable. You may be really miserable today, but that effect of misery in an entire life's duration is this much. But if you allow that misery and allow that one person's break of trust to expand, it can potentially completely overtake the rest of your life. But if you just allow that to be what it is, one small incident in the gamut of your life, one wrong person in the vast array of thousands of people that you will meet in your entire life, it will remain at that level. This is what is called viveka, discrimination.
So I hear you for what you're saying, but I think most of the time, one comes to that extreme level when the trust is broken by people who are close to you. Like, people in the bigger surrounding, in your dealing with life, at job, work, neighbor, everything, wider circle, you don't get affected. You just take it like a pinch of salt, like, it's okay. But the point at which it brings you to that point of changing is only by people who you are very close to. So does that mean that one must develop that, the distance in relationship, or,
Let me ask you a simple question. Even if it is the closest person in your life that has let you down, that has broken your trust, in your 20, 30 years of relationship, how many times has that person done it?
Always. And you keep forgiving and you keep moving because, you don't want to give up this relationship because they're family.
What was the answer? What did you say as the answer?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
So that's the thing. See, the thing is, there are some choices that we have made consciously, right? So when we come across people in our life that do serious errors, I mean, everyone makes mistakes. There is nobody in this world that will not make a mistake, including us. We'll all make mistakes. But the question is, how often do we repeat our mistakes? And how often do we hold on to our mistakes? That's the crucial question to ask. So if you find someone doing a mistake once, it's fine. Even if that person does a mistake another time, it's fine. As kids, we did so many mistakes. Our parents forgave those mistakes. But as we grow up, we do different types of mistakes, and people who love us will forgive our mistakes. But there is a big difference between mistake and habit. So when a mistake becomes a habit, then it's something that you have to really reconsider, because habits don't change fast. So if you come across someone for whom breaking your trust has become a habit, then you have to really reconsider what is there in that relationship at all, because I always say that someone who is weak can make mistakes, but someone who is absolutely insensitive and selfish they don't make mistakes. They do things on purpose, basically. So mistakes usually happen by mistake. But when things happen strategically, it's not exactly a mistake. It's more of a deviation. It's more of a something else, basically.
It's so good to hear this from someone like you, because as it's inbuilt in our DNA. You don't let go of families because they make mistakes. You're the elder one, you hold and you support and move the family. But just listening to you, it's just like it's validating what goes inside, that no, these are not mistakes. This is a habit, and I'm allowing this habit to flourish. That is why I'm making a mistake.
Exactly. And the point is that, a lot of times when we say this person is a cause of problems in my life, actually, by allowing that person, I'm also a cause, right? How am I not responsible?
And this is the point, all my life, in satsangs and everything, they keep saying, if you see someone's fault, is because you have those problems. Like, where is my problem in this? But listening to you, finally I'm understanding I am a problem to me because I'm allowing that person to be a problem.
Exactly.
It's not that I have the same traits, but I am a problem because I'm allowing the other person to be a problem.
Not doing something is also doing something.
I completely get it today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
There's a question on the chat by Nitin ji on what is the difference between Atmarati and Pragya. I'll answer that question. Somebody saying something? Okay. So thank you for the question, Nitin ji. It shows that you have been observing and you are listening carefully. Thank you very much. The difference is very simple. The second chapter is where Krishna speaks about the concept of Sita Pragya. The third chapter is where Krishna speaks about the concept of Atmarati. Though Sita Pragya and Atmarati essentially mean the same thing, but Krishna is going at different levels with it. Second chapter is a summary of the entire Gita. So every single concept that we're going to see from now till the end of the Bhagavad Gita is going to be there already in the second chapter. So if you find a concept in the second chapter already existing, don't worry. Krishna is going to emphasize many concepts, but drive it much deeper as he discusses with Arjuna. So this is one concept, the Sita Pragya concept. Krishna is speaking it through in a different way. So Atmarati and Sita Pragya essentially mean the same thing. Technically, they mean the same thing. But the way the discussion is going, this is going in a different direction because this is specifically now catering towards Arjuna's way of looking at life and helping Arjuna deal with it from a Karma Yoga point of view. So if he wants Arjuna to get into action, so Arjuna's problem is that I don't want to fight, right? That's his problem. So Krishna is trying to help him understand what action is, what Karma Yoga is, what action in Krishna consciousness is. That's why this whole discussion is going in this direction. So as we discuss the third chapter of the Gita, you will really understand the direction in which Krishna is driving home the point, basically. Okay. So basically, so far Krishna has been talking about, he's talking about the whole idea of renunciation and the concept of yoga ladder. And he's talking, so he's brought the discussion to a point where he's telling Arjun that someone who is on a very high platform of Atmarati stage, apparently, even if he does something, he's not doing anything. And apparently, if he's someone who's not doing anything, may actually be doing a lot, So Krishna is trying to drive home this point to Arjun and trying to inspire Arjun to see how he can be an Atmarati and he can potentially do all that Krishna is telling him to do, including fight a war, kill so many of his people and all that, but still he will be unaffected by it. So that's the kind of direction in which Krishna is driving home this point. So I hope that clarifies your question. Okay. Okay, great. So we'll stop here. And I'm hoping to see most of y'all in the Ramayana course starting Saturday. The first session that I'm going to be doing on the Ramayana course is going to be dealing with reversals in life. So that's the first session. So we're going to start with a big bang. So please come and enjoy the whole course. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.